In American families, when a child turns 18, they're not children anymore at that point, obviously, but when a kid turns 18, the parents, they tell that kid that they need to leave. They need to get out of the house. They need to go live somewhere else. Go get a job, go live, find an apartment to live in, find some roommates, go to school, something. Fortunately, that didn't happen to me. My parents were very nice. They said that if I needed to stay at home, that's fine. But it's still a big cultural part of America that every child of a family, when they turn 18 or older, they need to leave the home. There's even a metaphor that we use in America. We usually compare it to birds. The bird needs to leave the nest. The bird needs to spread its wings and leave the nest. Basically saying that when you get old enough, you need to leave the house and leave your parents behind. I know that doesn't happen a lot in other countries, but in America, it's a big thing. Now, I have a lot of friends where that's what happened to them. And their parents said that they need to leave. They need to get out of the house. That they need to find a job. They need to find an apartment to live at. That didn't happen to me. My parents were nice. Well, they had a different perspective, rather. They said that I could stay there if I wanted to. When I left China, though, and I got stuck here in America, my parents said that I could live with them, and I was living with them for a while. I was living in their basement. And they were accepting of me being there. They said that I could stay living with them as long as I wanted, but there was something more to it. It seemed like when I told my friends, or like when I told my relatives, my aunts and my uncles, that I was still living with my parents and I was just waiting to be able to get back to China, there was something there that was negative about it. Like they viewed me as a bit of a failure almost. Like it was bad that I was living with my parents. And I'm not too surprised about that. That's just something that is part of the American culture. That is the American culture. That it's not good to be living at your parents' house. Well, after you get older, that is. So I have a couple of examples of this. Usually people that play a lot of video games, there's a stereotype around them. And the stereotype is, especially if they're older, if they're like in their 30s and they play video games, do nothing but play video games, they don't have a job, and they live in their parents' basement. Those are all very negative stereotypes about somebody not as strong as it used to be, I would say. Part of that was the fact that they were living in their parents' basement. That living with their parents was a bad thing. It was a bad thing. It is still a bad thing. I have a friend, he went on a date with a girl, and the girl is living at her parents' house. And she told him that a lot of guys that go on a date with her, they say that they don't want to date her anymore because she is living with her parents. That's just part of the culture. It's part of the American culture. So then the next question is, why is the American culture like that? Well, to be honest with you, I don't actually know. I don't know why it is that the American culture has that so strongly implanted in it. It seems like it must have originated from some source. There must have been something that happened in history where that became a negative thing to stay with your parents. But I don't know why it is that is such a negative thing. So along with that, when somebody moves away from their parents, they go maybe to a different city, they go to a different house. After a while, after they've been old enough, it is not good for them to be homesick. And homesick means that when you miss your family after you've moved away, or you miss your hometown, or you miss your house. Maybe that's something that's in other cultures as well, but in America, if after you've gone kind of old enough and you move away and you are homesick, that's viewed as a negative thing. like a sign of weakness almost. It's very interesting. So I said that I didn't know the reason why this was the case in America, but I will say that there is something to the concept of families in America where it's not as strong. As a country, America isn't very family oriented. That's what we would say. I know that in China, when I'm looking at other countries, China is very family oriented, where family means a lot in China. In America, I think that bond, that connection isn't as strong. Why is that? I don't know. I don't understand. It's not as important to love your family in America, I think. In fact, it's fairly normal to know somebody. I mean, not common, but it's not rare to meet somebody that hates their family, that they don't like their family at all, at least in America. I have a cousin. He moved away from his mom, and he will never go to a family party if his mom is there because he hates his mom so much. It's sad, but it's something that happens fairly often here in America.